We now go on to the second part of our program, which are remarks. But before I do, I'd like to welcome Mrs. Stacy Richards Kennedy, the resident representative of UNDP Port of Spain office, and who used to be the main program officer in the office of the campus principal, and she was in charge of the IGDS project. So wave at us. So there we go. All right, and now these are our partners. So our partners are going to bring brief remarks. First, we have the Social Affairs Officer of UNECLAC, Mrs. Sheila Stewart, who is a sociologist with over 20 years of experience in the areas of gender and development, social development, and human rights. Mrs. Stewart works in the Social Development Unit at the ECLAC Sub-Regional Headquarters for the Caribbean, with responsibility for the planning, implementation, and administration of social development programs, including gender and development, population and social development issues such as poverty, disability, reproductive health, aging, and statistical development, covering 13 member and 13 associate member states. Of course, she has a long list of achievements, but which we can't, but we do welcome Mrs. Stewart.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and good morning. I know I was asked to speak for just 6-7 minutes, but it would be amiss of me to not do some acknowledgement. I wish to acknowledge Deputy Principal of the UE, Professor Moderator, who I've known for umpteen years, and also Professor Patricia Mohammed, Project Leader, and Dr. Paula Mohammed, your MC, who is the head of the Institute for Gender and Development Studies, our principal project investigators, project advisors, collaborators, many of whom are here, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a pleasure to deliver these remarks on behalf of the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, sub-regional headquarters for the Caribbean. I've actually cut down my remarks. I would also like to thank the Institute for Gender and Development Studies and the Social Work Unit, Department of Behavioral Studies, for inviting ECLAC to collaborate in this very important and seminal research project on work-life balance and aging in Trinidad and Tobago. As you probably saw from some of the slides, ECLAC work is already featuring very prominently in some of the background I saw from some of the ECLAC studies. But I also now want to acknowledge, take this opportunity to acknowledge some of the other collaborators in the project who was named, including TARP, of which I'm a member, the ILO Decent Work Team for the Caribbean, WINAD, Working Women, and of course the other corporate social representatives and regional and international scholars in the field of aging. We've heard a lot about the aims and objectives of this project, which is really to sensitize the population to options for support, coping strategies, and social work interventions aimed at reducing the stresses of work-life balance. However, as you know, many consider the attainment of work-life balance an elusive ideal or myth. However, I do believe that with appropriate support, choices, and interventions, that we can all engage meaningfully in work-life balance, in work, family, and community. I would also like to be bold here and state that the goals of this project must in the future extend beyond Trinidad and Tobago to the wider Caribbean, which are also grappling with the stresses of work-life balance, including the imbalances in paid and unpaid work. And I must say I have a pet interest in unpaid work and have done a lot of research in this area. And it is my dream that one day before I pass to the other side, that one of the Caribbean governments will actually take the bold step of initiating a full-time use study to measure the contribution of unpaid work to the economy. From the study, you've seen countries in the Latin American countries that have done studies. There are countries in Europe who do regular studies in North America, but somehow we seem not to be able to convince Caribbean governments to do a study. Trinidad and Tobago, interestingly, is the only country that has legislation on counting women's unpaid work, but they're yet to do a study. I wish that they would take it on. What I wanted to say is that the changing demographic of an increasingly aging population impacts work-life balance in a context where we now witness, and many persons have spoken of this, where elderly parents are assisting with childcare in circumstances where the cost of childcare is prohibitive, or where there's a general lack of childcare facilities within easy reach of communities. I therefore considered this unpaid care work because they're providing it often without any pay, and which is a critical stressor in the work-life balance debate. And I want to quote here to let you see that it's not only the Caribbean grappling with this. I quote here from an article in the British Guardian newspaper, which was dated the 18th of January, 2016, and it is entitled, "No Time for Childcare Grandparents to Take It Easy." They're worth £2,000 a year, which is approximately 20,000 TT dollars, which means they're providing this care unpaid. The article states that grandparents are throwing a lifeline to families squeezed by falling incomes and rising childcare costs. The contribution they're making within their families and the wider economy is enormous and rising. However, it also goes on to warn that looking after young children can be exhausting, and that it was important for grandparents to be comfortable with the demands placed on them and to ensure that they were not placing their health at risk by taking on too much. And while it says grandparents, we should really say grandmothers, because we know that it's really the women who are doing this. As many of you are aware, the United Nations in September, we need some gender balance in the child care thing. As most of you are aware, the United Nations in September 2015 adopted a new transformative 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development with 17 goals and 169 targets to continue the program of sustainable development work of the 2000 Millennium Development Goals. There's a standalone goal on gender equality, namely Goal 5, with 9 targets. Target 5.4 calls for the recognition and valuing of unpaid care work and domestic work through the provision of public services, infrastructure, and social protection policies, and the promotion of shared responsibility within the household. The shared responsibility includes women and men as nationally appropriate. It is also instructive to mention here, I don't know how many of you follow Melinda and Bill Gates, but in the 2016 annual letter from Melinda, she highlighted the issue of unpaid work, stating that everybody is better off when more of us are fulfilled in our daily lives. She stated that the world is making progress by doing 3 things economists call recognize, reduce, and redistribute. Recognize that unpaid work is still work, reduce the amount of time and energy it takes by providing support and so on, and the necessary infrastructure, and redistribute it more evenly between women and men. These same principles shall apply as we seek not only to promote, but to attain meaningful work-life balance throughout the life cycles. These are social, economic, cultural, and political issues that require policy interventions, and I know some persons also talk about the policy interventions by our policymakers. The availability and accessibility of data are instrumental to the development and implementation of policies and programs. It is my expectation that the data generated from this research will be used to facilitate the formulation of evidence-based policies to address the many issues that prohibit persons from maintaining a supportive and healthy work-life balance in the Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I want to state that ECLAC, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, is pleased to be a collaborator in this project on work-life balance and aging in Trinidad and Tobago. I look forward to working with a team of researchers and to not only reading the results in 2018, but to seeing these results reflected in public policies throughout the Caribbean. I thank you.